Welcome to our second studio session where we're talking about amazing extensions. In this session, our focus is going to be elongation. Now, when we talk about elongation, I want us to think about the idea of extension, like the actual extension of that leg maybe, or that arm or the spine, but that extension plus the expansion. So last time we talked all things expansion. If you happen to miss it, go back and get it. Because when we talk about elongation, we want the expansion to marry the extension, meaning that sometimes you'll see dancers on stage and they look flexible, but they don't look long, right? You're like, oh, their leg's up there, but it feels like kind of almost shorter than it should. And then sometimes you see a dancer on stage and their extensions are gorgeous, everything. When they get off stage, you're surprised by how short they are because they dance like they're much bigger and much taller than you would have ever imagined, right? And so that is the elongation that we're going to focus on today. The idea of bringing that extension so long and then taking the joints and expanding them even farther that you dance bigger, you dance longer than you ever have before. So let's talk all things extension. When we're talking about extension, I want us to think about how long the full line can be. Okay, so if we were talking about our legs specifically, it would be like, all right, how much flexibility do we have in our hamstrings? How much flexibility do we have in our calf? How much can we find in the space between the muscles that we need to get that line to happen? Okay, so talking about that, let's go into stretches on the floor that we can kind of test our mobility with. Now, in our last part of the series, we did tests to find out our joint space. How much space do we have in our joints to begin with? Now we're going to say, like, okay, are our muscles long enough to get that line to happen, right? And so we're going to do tests to see, okay, is this a joint, a muscle, or is this a strength issue, right? And so thinking about our extensions, Devon, we're going to bring us down to the and all I want us to do right away is just figure out where our flexibility is going to begin. So maybe when you straighten your leg's here, right? Maybe when you straighten your leg's here. Maybe when you straighten your leg, you're like, whoa, and it's all the way up to your nose. This is going to be your starting point, right? And so where are we and what do we feel? This is our beginning point for where's our extension. Now, what I want us to think about doing is every time we work in the extension, I want us to think about getting that muscle a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Now, as we do it, I'm going to talk to you about our last concept, expansion. So say we're starting here with our extension, right? Our legs here, we can get a nice straight knee. Now, if you think your legs up higher but your knees bent, then that's not your full extension, right? Because we can't actually sustain the line here. Our joints can't support, or maybe our muscles can't support that length. So we need to figure out where we start for our knee or any joint in that. So if it's our arm, where can our elbow joint support, right? Then from there, we're going to monitor the heel and we're just going to do a soft bend. So we're not going to take this line so far every single time. Now, this is just an example. So keeping the hips weighted down, the purple panels solid into the floor, nice and grounded into the floor. The heel will stay right here. Now the knee is going to stay here. And I want us to keep the hamstring length. So keeping the length of the hamstring right where it is. So I don't want to shorten the hamstring by going back to where we just were. We're going to keep the hamstring length and we're going to extend the lower part of the leg out. Now this is going to give us a slightly deeper hamstring stretch. And it's going to say, okay, can our hamstring go there, keeping the joints stretched and keeping the joints expanded? So if I start to go here, and a lot of dancers will do this, where they will just dig into that hip. Now I've closed off the space in this hip, and I can't sustain getting that line long, right? And so from here, as we're bending, I want us to think about soft knee, but it's not going into the joint. That knee is going to reach past me in the opposite direction, right? Now that knee reaching past me is going to stay there. Then I'm going to extend the rest of the line from where that knee planted, right? Now we're going to play it again. So showing you one more time, the knee is going to extend with the energy past me. So not digging down, but extending and lengthening past. And then from there, I'm going to stabilize where the hamstring is currently, and I'm going to extend out. shaking that out. When we're doing that, I want you to think about doing it 6 to 8 times on each side, right? And so the goal isn't little leg pumps, right? So a leg pump, we've seen these in classes before, would be that our legs here, we drop the heel completely, the line's completely gone, and then we extend it back up. For us, we're gonna hold that, continuously keep the resistance on the hamstring, and then keep the resistance lengthening even more. Keep the resistance, keep the resistance. As I'm saying this, make sure we're not starting our classes with this, right? This is more of a static stretch because the hamstring is holding that position the whole time. So think about really starting class with dynamic stretching and getting the muscles really warm before we start here. Now, the same thing can happen with our straddle stretch, okay? So say that that is getting us to understand Devon. Now, let's start bringing our straddle stretch in to help us understand that all position. Now, when dancers are here, let's start with one side. So instead of just jumping into the straddle, again, let's just see out of curiosity where our leg will go. So holding the foot with the opposite hand. So I'm holding my right foot with my left hand. I'm going to take my right hand on my right knee on the inside, right? And I'm going to just give it a little bit of pressure. So more than on the actual knee joint, my hand's on the green and purple panels. So you're just getting pressure on the inside of the leg. And then I'm relaxed. Now, as I'm putting pressure on, I'm still relaxing the leg. I'm just using the arm to put the pressure. And then I relax my arm. So putting the pressure with the arm. And then relaxing. And one more time, pressure. Now, as we're staying here, I want you to start to engage the muscles that are going to help us go into that all-second position on our right leg. So engaging the blue and the green panels. We're going to start to hold that position, keeping the purple panel, the glute panel of the left side for me, grounded into the floor. And we're going to start to extend out. Now, our goal is to rotate the blue panel towards the ceiling. So we're finding where our all-second can go. Then we'll soften the knee and extend it out. Remember, this is just kind of like an observation. Where will I go to start with? Soften the knee and fully extend it out. One more time there. Soften the knee. Now, as I'm pressing the heel away from me, press the heel away and extend it out. So now it's not only the extension, but it's the expansion reaching away from us. So not digging into the hip. And bring it back in. Good, let's try that other side. So my right hand is grabbing the left foot, kind of like that outside blade of the left foot. My left hand is going to the inside. So where this green and purple panel sit right here. So I'm not going to push on the joint. I'm just going to place my hand right here. Now I'm relaxing the leg. I'm going to use some muscles in my arm to press that knee away and relax. 2 more times. Press that knee away and relax. Now this time we're going to engage those muscles. So press that knee away, engage the blue panel, engage the green panel. And from there, we'll start to extend that leg out. Now, one thing you can do is you can put, if you have a rope, you can put it around that arch, or you can put it around the metatarsal point, and that'll help hold that leg out to the side. Now from here, make sure that we're grounded in that purple panel. So we don't want this to rock. Some of the dancers want that working leg to get down to the floor. So they're willing to rock a little bit, keep that weight in the supporting side. Now we're going to soft bend, keeping the weight on that purple. We can even plant our hand underneath and make sure, and extend. Remember to really push that heel away, trying to present the blue panel towards the ceiling to really activate that rotation. Plie. And press away from you to extend. And last time, plie. Taking that heel and reaching it towards the wall. And bringing it in. Now we're starting to see where our extension is Devant, where our extension is all-second. Now you can take that, and if your dancers are struggling with straddle or they're struggling with their straddle leaps, do that also with both legs in straddle. That same exact exercise with both legs in straddle, because what that'll do is that'll say, okay, Are our hamstrings long enough to support that straddle line? Or do we need to start going into more stretching for RLs online, more stretching for straddle, right? But this will help you observe and see, okay, where is our flexibility? Where is our mobility right from the beginning before we add in more additional stretching, right? Now, say we wanted to add in a little bit of a test with how our extension's going, but also how is our elongation, right? How's that expansion going? Can we keep our leg lines really long while also really trying to build our extension? And one thing we can do is set little guidelines to find out how our body is responding to that step. And one thing would be a wall, right? So using this wall, if I was going to try and see how my extension's being held, and am I drawing my leg back into my joints to get my leg to go out, or am I actually reaching away? One thing we can have our dancers do is have them lay on their back and go to that same line that we were at with our last stretch, where the legs and all is calling, right? And now really rotate, see if we can get the blue panel towards the ceiling, toes towards the floor. And now from here, see if you can draw a slight bend into that knee. And as you do, if you can still keep that foot flat, what's going to happen is, since we are adding a bend, the leg has to reach farther towards the wall to get that soft bend to happen. So see how it's a soft bend? Now, as I stretch, I can actually kind of push myself more away from the wall. Then I'm going to do a soft bend. I'm going to try to put the weight into that foot so it's reaching away from my joint to do that. And then push and see if you can give yourself a little motion away. Now, that last time it didn't move me away from the wall, but it completely moved my foot down, right? So it gave me more extension in the form of finding that space there. And so have your dancers do that as well. Anytime you can add a test to your dancers, or like some way to measure what they're doing, the easier it is for them to accomplish what you're asking. So for us, a lot of it's going to be the color cueing. Can you see more of that blue panel? Can you activate more of this? Can you feel the green panel fire up, right? But then sometimes it's going to be like, add a prop, add the wall, add something that they can measure. So even that last exercise, I could measure, okay, my foot's flat. I'm going to have to bend my leg, which technically should shorten my line, which would take my foot away from the wall. But if I can keep pressure on the wall, then really what's happening is I'm bending by extending more out of my hip than taking my foot off the wall and jarring it back into the joint, right? So anytime you can add some form of a measurement to your dancers, it allows them to get to their goal just a little bit faster. So good luck, try that, let us know, and we'll see you next week for all things engagement.